How about that cigar?
Oh, how about that cigar? Gosh,
Ladies and gentlemen,
totally missed the
you
cue.
forgot your line.
Oh,
It happens. I mean,
sorry.
it's only episode 175. It's
175.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. I'll get there.
Should we do another cut?
Let's do it. All right.
How about that cigar?
How about that cigar?
There we go. Much better. See, practice makes perfect.
Nailed it.
Guys, welcome to the Drew Estate Cigar Studios for episode 175 of How About That Cigar Live. Thank you so much for joining us live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and if you're listening after the fact on the audio podcast, thank you so much for listening to How About That Cigar Live. When you drive down the road, when you work out, whatever it is you do, when you listen to your favorite audio podcast, thank you so much for making us a part of that. And here in the beautiful Drew Estate Cigar Studios, we have an announcement that Drew Estate, joined by James Hetfield of Metallica and Rob Dietrich of Blackened American Whiskey, just unveiled the all-new Blackened Cigars M81 by Drew Estate, an exploration into the deepest, darkest, and heaviest depths of the mystical Maduro leaf. Blackened Cigars M81 by Drew Estates presents a journey through different Maduro leaves, starting with a thick and oily San Andres Maduro wrapper, followed by a thick and meaty Connecticut River Valley broadleaf Maduro binder, and
like
finally,
thick and meaty.
and finally, a blend of Nicaraguan and Pennsylvania broadleaf Maduro tobaccos. Blackened Cigars M81 by Drew Estate will be presented in beautiful copper-accented black 20-count boxes and will debut in a 5x50 Robusto, 6x52 Toro, 7x50 Corona Doble, and a 5x43 Corona. For more information, please visit drewestate.com. I'm so off my game. That was the first time I ever did that read. Mm-hmm. And there were like 3 missteps in there.
Hey, we'll get there.
I mean, it's just,
we'll get there.
I'm like the Kirk Cousins of ad reads.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I had to, bro. No, it's hey. So both our teams basically didn't deserve to win our games on Sunday,
but they didn't earn them.
But we still ended up with wins.
Correct.
So you guys had the early, and I know you slept like basically you said like through the whole weekend you slept like 20 minutes total.
Yeah, this last like 5 days has been ridiculous. One of those, and then the Vikings had to play in London, so I wake up at 8:15 on a Sunday
to watch
football.
Yeah,
now, to go to church is a whole nother thing. Like that's one thing, but you're committed when you wake up early to watch your team.
Yeah. Well, Packers have to play there this coming Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Packers, I mean, we played the Patriots in Lambeau Field. The Patriots are in the bottom 5 in as far as NFL teams go leading up to this. And I mean, it comes down to overtime and the last 3 seconds of overtime, Mason Crosby kicking a field goal to break the tie to win the game. It was just ugly. Aaron Rodgers. And I was saying that through the whole game, the defense were playing like clowns.
Yes.
The offense were playing like clowns. Yep. Rodgers threw another pick.
Yep.
It just did not look good.
No,
at all.
It really didn't.
And that I'll give Coop a little bit of razzing right now. That awful, horrible coach we have in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur. What an absolute joke that coach is. Please, I'm being sarcastic.
Coop calls him LaFlop.
LaFlop, yeah. I'm being sarcastic right now. I think Matt LaFleur is a fine coach, and anyway, let's not get into that. That's a whole other show. So the last time we talked, we basically knew that the Twins were out of contention, but it officially on paper, it was not mathematically 100% yet. Well, the very next day, it was mathematically 100%. The Twins are completely out of contention, as well it should be, because if they were in contention, then there's Scoop. Hey, if the Twins were in contention, then they would only increase their losing streak for Minnesota playoff teams. And for the Twins in general. And what's that? They would lose to the Yankees. They would.
Absolutely.
First wild card, that 100%. They would lose to the Yankees. Are too good.
Yep.
And happy news that the NHL season starts
Yes.
on the 11th of this month, and we're excited for it. The Wild start a couple days later at home on the 13th against the Rangers. So excited for the NHL season to get underway, because baseball, I mean, but I'll watch postseason baseball. I will watch it, but sad that I don't really have a horse in the race.
I don't either.
There are teams that I'd love to see, do well in the playoffs. I'd love to see, I know it sounds weird, but I shouldn't say I know it sounds weird. People have almost made like a fashion out of hating on the New York Yankees. I'm not one of those people. I don't hate the New York Yankees.
I don't hate them either,
because they've got and Raul, our friend, is sitting over here, and he's a huge Yankees fan. And I don't hate on the New York Yankees. They've had a lot of great success over the years, and I applaud them for it.
And there was people that were, because every time Mike Judge would come up to bat, or Mike Judge,
the guy who made Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Wow, he plays for the Yankees.
Yeah. He's really good. He was about to smash a single season home run record. But every time,
shut up, Beavis,
Aaron Judge came up to bat, whatever sports you were watching, they would have that screen.
Oh yeah, they would.
I saw a handful of people that were like, it's so annoying if we wanted to be watching our polo, and we got to watch Aaron, whatever it was, we got to watch Aaron Judge swing and miss a million times over the last couple of days. I think it's great.
I love it.
I do too.
Yeah, it's good for sports. I don't have any problem with that. Doesn't Aaron Judge look like Butthead? Well, maybe a little, but we all wish we had him on our team. We all wish we had him on our team.
Absolutely.
And I love how he's just a really low key individual. He just does his job, and then he goes back and sits in the dugout. He's not brash. He's not, he's not over the top. He's not a hothead. He's just a good player all around. Yeah. And that's what I like about him. So, and the Mariners are a good story, getting back into the playoffs for the first time in 22 years or something like that.
Post Ichiro.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be exciting postseason baseball. But obviously we wish our teams were in the race, but they're not. So it's all good.
Like we always say, there's always next year.
The Minnesota sports fan
mantra.
Yeah, it's the mantra. It's the welcome to Minnesota. Here's your better luck next year t-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. It is time. It is time. We're not going to waste any more time. We got a great special guest this evening.
Yes.
One of our favorite guests to have on the show. This is probably his 5th appearance on the show. I mean, not that we play favorites, but with this guy, we kind of play favorites. I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into our main event of the evening, guys. And as always, special guests on How About That Cigar Live are brought to us by our friends at Corona Cigar Company. Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com, the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. You'll also find unique and limited cigars made with Florida sun-grown tobacco. As a proud American, president and founder of Corona Cigar Company, Jeff Borshowitz knew it was possible to bring cigar tobacco farming back to Florida. At Corona Cigar Company, you'll find the best selection anywhere in the world of cigars containing this special Florida sun-grown tobacco. If you live in Florida or are just visiting, be sure to visit any of the great Corona Cigar locations in downtown Orlando, Sand Lake, Tampa, Lake Mary, and a new location coming soon to Sarasota. To learn more, visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please put your hands together and welcome back to the show. This time, episode 175 from Crowned Head Cigars, Miguel Schoedel. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Thank you guys for having me on. I always enjoy being on your guys' show. And love that you guys are talking some baseball there. I can't talk NHL. I'm not a hockey guy. I don't watch a lot of football for the NFL, but baseball I can get into.
Well, I did want to touch on, your team because, the Cincinnati Reds had a rough year kind of overall. But it was exciting to watch because they started out really so rough, but then they had some bright spots, with some exciting, a few exciting plays, a few exciting games in the middle of the season. So just kind of give us your overall thoughts on the 2022 season for the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, it started very rough with some of the comments made by Phil Castellini's son, the owner's son, who's very involved in the organization. Made some comments to really upset the fans. We started out absolutely horrible, kind of balanced things out by the middle of the season a little bit better. Had a few good runs there, but the injuries were overwhelming. I think Reds had the most, I think it was the most days of players on the injured reserve list. And then our all-star, our top guy on our team, Joey Votto, wind up leaving, had to call the season short because of a shoulder injury and surgery. But it was actually fun watching him because he hit a lot of milestones for the organization this year. So a lot of the fans like me that we're really watching to see Joey, what Joey was going to do as he moves up the list on every record on the Reds franchise. I mean, by the time he retires in the next 2 years, he'll go down as probably record-wise the best Cincinnati Red to ever play. I mean, he'll have almost every record, obviously outside of the hits, which Pete Rose had, and he's spent his entire career as a Red, so obviously that helps a lot. But overall, it was a rough season, but I always do say there is next year because you never know. I remember in 1989, I was a little kid and did not know that in 1990 the Reds were going to go wire to wire and win it all and beat the almighty Oakland Athletics. So you just never know. You never know. And I know the Twins underperformed a little bit. I watched the Twins a little bit, and but it is what it is, man. I mean, there's 30 teams in baseball, and only so many get to the postseason, and in any sport, only one team really achieves the goal that they set out for in spring training.
Yeah. Would you rather, I mean, just from a philosophical standpoint, would you rather, see the Twins or see the Reds sneak into the wild cards knowing that they pretty much have zero shot, or would you just see them end their season quietly and regroup for next year?
No, postseason baseball, I don't think there's anything like it in baseball. I don't care if we sneak in on a wild card and we're up against the almighty whoever. That wouldn't bother me. That would mean an extra game. That means a little party at my house. And so I'll take it any way I can get it. Sneaked in, backed in, through the back door, side door, any kind of my team in the postseason. It happens so rarely that I will take it any which way possible. And it is. It's anything can happen on a one-game series in baseball.
Yeah.
So with Miguel, all doors are open. Is what I heard.
Yeah. Well,
all the doors.
And I think if I remember right, I mean, I do know for a fact the Twins are playing as we speak. If I remember right, it is their last game of the season. I think. If somebody wants to check that out for me, let me know. But I'm pretty sure tonight is the last hoorah.
Well, Matt, let's get you fired up.
Yeah,
so you can enjoy this cigar.
I need to get my cigar going.
So we're going to go over to the toast cam here. When lighting your cigar, it is important to be patient, pay close attention to detail, and focus on the tobacco. In the same way, Steve Saka brings those same qualities to the ultra-premium cigars of Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Patience, close attention, and focus on the tobacco are the qualities that Saka and Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust have become known for. From Silver Mesa to Umbagog, Dunbarton has a blend that will fit your palate, your mood, and any occasion. Visit DunbartonCigars.com to learn more.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a taste. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude. I know.
Off the light. I mean, it's just.
I didn't
flavor
because I know that we have to wait for you to smoke, but I've wanted to compliment this cigar for some time, but I didn't want to rub it in your face.
Yeah, put it up there.
So we are all smoking, and I believe Miguel is also smoking.
Yes, I am.
The Blood Medicine. Now, we kind of had a false start with this line a little bit. can you walk us through that and just talk about the blood medicine here?
Well, it all stems from John creating an event cigar years ago called Snake Oil, and just kind of fun play on words, and as sales guys, we go out there, we make sales, and kind of harkening back to the old days of the guys that would be selling elixirs and things that would help people grow back hair or whatever. It was kind of that fun play. Well, someone owned the copyright on that name, and so we wind up doing another cigar called Blood Medicine. And we've made it in several different factories. And this one is the latest rendition of Blood Medicine. And this cigar, it's not about, I always say this cigar is really about kind of mystery and fun. It comes in a 4-pack. It's only available at specific events around the country. It's a limited run event only cigar. And if you can get your hands on it, you buy a box of Crown Heads at an event, check out our event website, crownheads.com, roadshow, and then on those roadshows it'll say if it's a blood medicine event. You buy a box at a blood medicine event, you get a 4-pack of these, and the packaging's beautiful. I love it. The little write-up on it I think is fun, and it's really just it's a medium body, very complex cigar that has a lot of depth of flavor, cedar notes, woodsy characteristics, and as weird as it may sound, it almost has a lemon peel kind of aroma to it. It's just really bright, very refreshing tobacco, and really, really nice cigar. And that's kind of the story of it. It's really about fun. We do a lot of hats, we do some lighters, and having an event only cigar is not something that we do all the time. It's whenever we find a blend that we like, that we're going to do a short run on, we choose it to be this project. And it turned out really well. The little write-up on the box, I think, is fun, kind of tongue in the cheek kind of thing. And it's beautiful, and I'm glad you got your hands on them, because there are not a lot of them, and so I hope you enjoy it. And as we continue on this journey of Crown Heads, we're in our 11th year as a brand, creating kind of fun projects. This is just another one of those projects that John Huber's worked on and really created a really cool cigar.
Yeah, I dig it. I mean, right away, as soon as I lit it, there was, because a lot of times we've talked about this before, that it's so common with cigars these days. There's so many blends out there that when you first light it up, it takes a good 2 or 3 minutes for that overwhelming pepperiness to go away and sort of dissipate, and for the blend to sort of settle in. Well, this one didn't have that at all. It settled in really from the toast. Yeah. I mean, the flavors and aromas were noticeable and accessible right away, instead of having to wait for the pepper to die down.
There is no foreplay. This cigar gets right down to business right away.
I love that.
Speaking of getting right down to business, I think we should just let's tackle the beast. Let's tackle the elephant in the room. Let's get to business, and
then let's get this out of the way, and then we'll talk about Crown Head cigars.
Yeah, and then we'll get fun stuff. So obviously, a lot of things happening in the news and rumors and blah 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 and all the icky stuff. But Miguel, we just want to give this opportunity for you to give your piece, your 40,000 foot view of the situation at hand, and where we're going to go from here.
Yeah, look, Crown Heads has a long history in this business, and the company's been around 11 years. But Mike, John, and Tim, the owners of Crown Heads, they've been in the business. Combined, you're probably now looking, with Tim involved, I mean, God, 60 something plus years probably of experience in the premium cigar industry, from CAO, and Tim's family founded in 1968, to John joining Crown Heads in the early 90s, to Mike Connor getting in 1980, wound up being VP of sales for General Cigar for many years, and then an executive at Crown Heads, or at CAO. Obviously, that's where I met those guys. We've worked with a lot of different manufacturers. We've worked with Willie Herrera at Drew Estate. We've worked with the Garcia family, Jaime, Yanni, as well as Pepin at the My Father Cigar Factory. We've been blessed to work with our godfather, Ernesto Perez Carrillo, EPC, at his factory, which is called TLA, Tabacalera La Alianza, in the Dominican. And then we worked with Tabacalera Pichardo, and Iradio Pichardo is just has a long history in the cigar industry. Great guy from Cuba, And he's had a couple different factories in Nicaragua over the years. And he teamed up with Luciano Morales a few years ago, and they were manufacturing cigars, and they've done some cigars for us, like Mil Diaz and Juarez. And then, obviously we distributed their brand Ace Prime. And I think we did a really good job at expanding their brand. I think when we took over their brand, I mean, it was in less than, 30, 40 shops in the country. And we're doing a really good number with their product, and very proud of that, But obviously, as all distribution agreements, they eventually come to an end. They need to do their thing, go off on their own, and really do their own, build their future, but the drama that you've seen on press releases and things, it's really strange that we got really kind of pulled into it. But the reality is the drama was at the factory between Radio Pichardo and Luciano Morales. That's really where the issue was. And for us, it was really kind of us stepping back, saying they need to get their house in order, and we don't need to be a part of that. But all of that turned into getting us dragged into kind of a messy ordeal. And I'm sure over the next month or so, you'll see, press releases probably coming out from both of their parties, talking about Ace Prime and the factory and who's involved, who's not involved. But Iradio's always had his hands on all of our blends, from Mil Diaz to Juarez to CHC Series E, and as well as this blood medicine. And I've known Iradio a long time, and he's a wonderful guy, stand-up guy, honest guy, and he just has a great long history in his business. So the reality is, through all the press releases, our name has been kind of thrown around a little bit by one of the two parties. And so we had to put out a cease and desist and say, hey, listen, we've been in this business a long time, longer than not Iradio, but longer than Luciano. So we're like, hey, listen, you guys can battle, you guys do what you got to do. But, for us and our name, we've built a very long, honest, hardworking, reputations in his business. So that's really where it all came down to. And I think that's really the honest part of it. You know what I mean? The honest part of it is we distributed Ace Prime. Ace Prime is not the factory. The factory is completely separate from that. It's a different entity. And after everything is said and done, we'll kind of assess where they're at, their factory's at, and who's involved, who's doing what, and then we'll decide what we'll do going forward. But those things happen in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It just, unfortunately, we got dragged into something that really has very little to do with us, Sure. And so, and that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to glance over it or whatever. I'm just trying to be very honest. And I know they've changed their name, their distribution. One of the parties, I think, is looking for another factory to do some stuff. And the reality is that's not part of our business. You know what I mean? Our core business of what we do. We help this company out, and hopefully they'll get their stuff sorted out. It's a small industry. Mm-hmm. And the reality is I think that if you work hard, you represent the industry with pride, and it's really about carrying that flag of the industry and carrying it on to the next generation and really promoting it. If you're doing that, then everything else kind of falls into place. You know what I mean? And I don't wish ill will on anyone, but I do think that different personalities don't always work together. And so maybe it's time for other people to get doing their thing and other people do their thing. And the reality is Crown Heads has 11 years of solid reputation, hard work, putting out great blends, working great with our partners. You know what I mean? And so hopefully the future is bright. And I think for the industry, I think the future is bright, especially from Crown Heads' point of view of what we do and what we do every day. I mean, we have, our relationship with your estate, my father, EPC, going strong, 11 years. And it's been incredible. I mean, that's really that's all I really can say,
Sure.
No, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just wanted you to have a chance to, just share a few thoughts on that. And we really appreciate it. Raul has a good question, and, are you hoping to work with, Pichardo, the man Pichardo in the future?
Well, I've known Iradio longer than I've known anyone in their organization. I've known him for the longest out of all of them. And I'm a big fan of his cigars. I'm a big fan of his tobacco. I'm a big fan of his blending and what he does. And so, as I would always say, is there's always an opportunity, always. John and Mike make those decisions, right? I'm in sales, but I've never seen them close the door on people. I always see them willing to open a door and always willing to work with people. People send us blends all the time from a lot of different factories. And, the future, who knows? There's always opportunities. People want to work and do stuff with us. So would we? I would never say no to that.
Yeah.
He's one of those kind of unsung heroes in the industry, as there's a lot of them in Nicaragua, a lot of them in the Dominican Republic, a lot of them in Honduras that may not get the publications, in the Hall of Fames or anything. There are just the hardworking guys who make sure the tobacco is great, who plant great seeds, who harvest great tobacco, who ferment and have great rollers. Those guys are kind of the unsung heroes. So if they're good, honest, hardworking guys, I always think there's an opportunity there,
Yeah.
Well, he's a straight G too, from what I hear.
Yeah. Old school Cuban.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Old school, very old school dude, man. Very old school guy.
So what about lines like Mil DS? Where does that line stand at this point?
Well, we've got plenty of inventory to last us to the end of the year. And so that really depends on, what happens, right?
Okay.
I couldn't tell you where it's going to go, who it's going to go to, or what. But I can tell you that I think in the coming month, I think everything will kind of sort itself out, and we'll be able to say, hey, this is where everything is. This is where, it's going to go, where it's going to stay, where it's going to evolve to. And I think that's coming down the line. But I think if you're a fan of Juarez, Mil Diaz, CHC, those blends are the same blends they've always been, and they'll continue to be the same blends as they've always been.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into a lot of really cool new stuff that, we got sneak peeks of at the PCA trade show. The biggest one that I want to jump into first is the addition of Tim Osgener and Osgener Family Cigars being a part of the Crown Heads family now. So, and I was saying before we went live, I picked up, one of the new blends, and I'm going to say it, Pi Synesthesia.
Very close. Yeah.
I was close.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
I picked this up at Sodi's yesterday, and I've had a couple of the other things. So again, he's somebody you've known for a very long time. So
20
talk
years.
about the excitement level behind having him part of the family now, and what some of the products that are coming out that smokers can expect in their shops.
Well, Tim gave me my first job in the industry 20 years ago, so I have so much love and affection for the Osgener family. Jono Osgener, Tim's father. Jono was, God, I mean, I wouldn't even know he how to say it, but the guy was he was an amazing human being, gave a lot to the tobacco industry, either be pipe or cigars. He created CAO. Those are his father's initials. Started in 1968 in the basement of his house in Nashville. Tim and Eileen is Tim's sister. They came up with the company, and obviously everyone knows where CAO became and what CAO is, right? And so Tim was the president and gave me my first job. And I did a lot of events with Tim. I've always kept in contact with Tim. When his father passed away, I went to the celebration of life that they had in Nashville. Tim has always been behind the scenes with Crown Heads, obviously. And Tim will tell you the story. I'll get Tim on your guys' show, but Tim will tell the story that, he's always smoking cigars. And every time I've hung out with him over the years, the 11 years he's been out of the business, he's always been smoking cigars with us and hanging out with us. But what happened was during the beginning of the pandemic, a friend of his, and I'll probably butcher the story a little bit, but a friend of his was saying, hey, I know this guy, and he, you can kind of do this like reflection on your life where you kind of lay out your entire life, the highs and lows, and you kind of, every year you go through your life and you kind of see where things were, where were the ups, where were the downs, where were the successes, where were the failures, how did you bounce back or whatever. And what Tim found was by doing that exercise, that some of the most joyous times in his life was when he was president of CAO, and the fun that he had with consumers and building blends and designing products. And it was such an exciting time. And so, him and Mike, said, hey, let's do this. And they worked on it way before it was announced. Tim was behind the scenes working on stuff, working on ideas. And as his first core release, Bosphorus, which is out in the market now, there's a lot of thought that went into that cigar. There's a lot of thought that went into the packaging, the symbolism in the packaging as well. And then Pi Synesthesia, the cigar you have, is kind of an ode to his father. And his father, after CAO sold, John Osgener started painting and fell in love with art. And the old CAO headquarters in Nashville, which is called Oz Arts, it's a not-for-profit arts organization where they have visual performing arts, and his father was really involved in that. And his father was a painter and painted until the last couple months of his life. And one of the things that his father was an engineer for DuPont before he started CAO in 1968. And one of the things that he loved was numbers, and he loved paint. He loved numbers and colors. And that's how synesthesia, which is this kind of disease, if you will, that, it could be as simple as someone saying a number to you and you think a color, or someone says a color and you think of a flavor, or whatever it may be, right? And so Tim had kind of, a lot of Jono's paintings were based on pi, the number pi, and then assigning a color to each number. And so that is what you see on the band there. That is actually a painting. It's an installation that they have in the Oz Arts that his father did. And you see the different lines, and the different lines have colors, but they're different lengths. And that depends on the number and color, how they correspond. So the idea is, what did yellow taste like? What is yellow? What if someone said yellow to someone with synesthesia, what would it taste like? And so that's kind of the way he approached that project. And so Pi Synesthesia Yellow is a limited edition. I think we did 2,500 boxes, launched it at the trade show, and it's now getting out to the market. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful cigar. And the packaging also is incredible. Has a replica of Jono's signature in the inside of the box. And I think you'll see more of those as the years progress, and probably we'll do the whole kind of Pi, kind of taking art into cigars. So it was kind of a really cool concept. I am a sucker for a good Connecticut cigar. I'm like anyone else. I like dark. I like oily. I love Mexican San Andreas wrappers. I love boldness. But there is something to be said. I came up in cigars in the 90s where Connecticut's were the rage. And so my first love was kind of Connecticut. So when I can get my hands on a really good Connecticut, there's something special about it, right? And we do have a whole host of people that maybe Bosphorus is going to be more their style. It's darker, oilier, more aggressive, medium, some bold flavor characteristics. But there's always room for that beautiful Connecticut cigar. And I tell guys, look, if you don't smoke a Connecticut because you smoke the fuller body or the medium body stuff, go back and try Connecticut, because that is so much of the 90s of the cigar industry. In the 90s is really what saved the industry. The 80s were rough, man. I mean, you talk to any of the families that were involved in the 80s, and it was their kids were going to college because this industry was going to die. The boom came, and then really kind of saved the industry. And so there is this kind of love that I have, because I've been involved. I've been in, a fan of cigars since the 90s. That Connecticut, there's something special about a really good Connecticut, and I think that cigar hits everything you want out of a Connecticut.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
I love it. And it's cool to see, sort of him getting reinvigorated and excited again about not that he wasn't, the time that he took away from the industry, that he wasn't still, excited about cigars, but sort of see him reinvigorated in his passion for cigars. It's very cool.
What was really neat was going to the trade show with Tim, because you got to remember, Tim was going to those, since the late 80s with his father, what I mean? Helping, load boxes or whatever. And then the CAO days where we threw the biggest parties at RTDA at the time, and then IPCPR later, now PCA. But we were throwing the biggest parties. We had Tommy Lee. We had, we had a bunch of bands that we brought in. It was an incredible time. But what was neat about this trade show was seeing Tim there, and then him talking with Rick Rodriguez, right? Because you had Tim Osgener, whose family created CAO. Tim obviously became the face of CAO. They sold the company to STG. STG wound up buying Swedish Match in general, and then it all merged together. Yeah. And John Huber, Mike Condor, Tim Osgener, the three real faces of CAO, did not go when it would merge with General. And right. So there was there was a need for someone to step up and be the face of CAO. And Rick Rodriguez at the time was part of Team La Gloria Cubana, which was in General's bag of brands as well. And he came originally, I think he started as a rep for them. And Rick got to take over that brand and obviously did some awesome and incredible things with CAO and took it to another level. And so to see both those guys there at the trade show this year, both with their histories through CAO, they were both there launching their own thing. Rick was launching his first brand based on him and his family, West Tampa Cigar, and then you had Tim coming back with Oz Family Cigars. It was just an incredible kind of to see these two men at the show kind of starting over and just their passion for the industry and everything they've brought and how their stories kind of crossed at one point. And it was really neat. It was neat to see that. And so, I'm excited. The Osner family, I've said it many times. They gave me my first job. I learned everything I did working with them, and Mickey Pegg, who owns All Saints Cigars. Mickey was our VP of sales at CAO. Mickey taught me a lot. And Mickey now has his own brand, as I said, All Saints. I mean, it's incredible how many people have come out of that organization or was involved in an organization and have created these incredible brands, as Mike and John creating Crown Heads. I mean, it was really incredible. If you're a fan of history when it comes to the cigar industry, these people are legends in this business, and they continue to do this. I mean, you look at a guy like Christian Uroa when they sold Camacho to Davidoff, and then what he's created post Davidoff or post Camacho and CLE and Asylum with Tom Lazuka. I mean, it's incredible. All these guys, it's in their blood. As I said, Tim, his father started CAO as a pipe company in 1968. It's been in his family line forever, and so it's exciting to see those guys come back and give more to the industry. And as we all believe, that it's more about what you give than what you take from the industry. And so it's exciting to see what Tim's doing.
Definitely. The other big one this year that, there's a lot of other ones, but this one really was exciting for me because I was a fan, when the first one dropped, and then finding out that Le Patissier, was getting expanded, new sizes, all that stuff. That was just for me as a fan of the blend. I know Raul, huge fan of the blend, sitting over there with a big smile on his face, and these new sizes, it just gives options for, cigar smokers who like, a different Vitola. So, talk us through the decision to take that blend into kind of a wider range.
I think John really loved that blend that he worked on, Le Patissier, and obviously we put it out in kind of a Lonsdale at the trade show now a year and a half ago, 2 years ago almost, I guess. And Tim loved that cigar, put it out as a limited one size release. And we've done things like that in the past before. Headley Grange came out as a one size line. I think a few other brands that we've done as well. And a guy like John, I think when a blend doesn't leave his mind and it constantly is on his mind, he's constantly thinking about it and said, you know what, I think that blend deserves its own full package, full release, sizes that, the market would really respond to. And so I think it's the prettiest band that we've ever done. I think it's one of the prettiest logos I've ever done. Le Carême is a brand of ours that has always been very popular. It's a cigar made for us by EPC. And there was a point there where broadleaf was very hard to get. And so Le Patissier kind of almost filled that void a little bit, right? And so there you go. Brothers, right? They're brothers,
side
basically.
By side.
And so Le Patissier is kind of an offshoot of Le Carême. And Le Patissier means the baker. Obviously, it's French. The color is kind of John is inspired as an artist. He was in a pastry shop in Tennessee a couple holidays ago, and he had saw these macaroons in the different colors and all that, and thought, man, that really stuck with him. So when he worked on Le Patissier, that's really the inspiration behind the name. And the cigar really has a natural sweetness undertone to it, and it has these. It's interesting because when you smoke it, to me, it has some bold characteristics, but when you blow out the smoke, it leaves like this natural little sweetness on your palate that people seem to really respond and love. And the four sizes that he chose, I love each of those sizes. Two of them were inspired by the number 50 and number 54 were inspired by the one of the French brand from Cuba. Help me out, gentlemen.
French.
Let's Atelier or
no.
Kai d'Orsay.
Yeah, Quai d'Orsay. Yes. And so when they repackaged that, those were two sizes that John really loved, and so he chose two of those and then two other sizes as well. And obviously Le Carême is all box pressed, and so this is a round cigar. Parejo is what it's referred to as, a round cigar. And so it's kind of nice for maybe people who don't prefer a box press. They can smoke Le Patissier. It's round. Just a beautiful cigar, and definitely was one of the most talked about cigars at the trade show this year.
Well, and the other one that I've got here in front of me, this year's iteration of the Las Calaveras.
Yes.
Talk to us about this year's Las Calaveras, and then that's going to kind of lead us into a little bit broader discussion about sort of limited stuff. So talk to us about this year's Las Calaveras.
Well, Las Calaveras, as most people know out there, if they don't know, every year we've released the Las Calaveras since 2014. And every year it has the same name. It's made by the same manufacturer, My Father's Cigars, Don Pepin Garcia and his family down in Nicaragua. Every year the blend changes. And every year we try to make the blend unique and different. And there's initials on the sides of the bands of people that have passed away that are either important to us or important to the industry. One way or another. We've had family members on there. We've had Old Man Padron's initials on there. The Old Man Fuente's initials been on there before. And so this year's blend, I think, really, this year's blend really kind of hit. It just seemed to really hit a lot of people's palates, medium, complex. I think that if you're a mild smoker, you can move up to that. Or if you're a full body smoker, you can take a step down to the strength level. And it just kind of covers a lot of that clientele out there. And it's a Nicaraguan puro. It's filler, binder, wrapper, rolled all in Nicaragua, all Nicaraguan tobacco. We've never done that before with the Las Calaveras. So it was really, I think, for us, unique and different in that sense. And it turned out to just be an incredible success. I love the baby blue band that we used this year. I think it really popped off that dark wrapper. And it's been overwhelmingly been successful and cheered on. People seem to really, really, really love this year's blend.
Nice. So for talking limited stuff, we're huge fans of the Tennessee Waltz. There's also stuff like Yellow Rose, Buckeye Land, things like regional limiteds.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the Las Calaveras, which is a yearly, like you said, it's a new cigar every year, but sort of to serve the same purpose, to, pay tribute to those people who have passed on before us. When talking about limited cigars, when you guys get together and have meetings, about how things are performing, different products, what consumers are saying about different products, sometimes we may see a line from, or we may notice that a line from a cigar company that we've enjoyed in the past, we're not seeing as much on the shelf anymore, or maybe we don't see it at all on the shelf anymore. When you guys are looking at everything from the regular production stuff to the limited stuff, what goes into your conversations when you are deciding if you're going to maybe take a SKU off the shelf for a year, 2 years, maybe permanently? And how do you guys come about those decisions when you're looking at everything from regular production to limited?
Well, it's funny. There's so many layers to that question, because when it comes to something like a Mule Kick, 4 Kicks Mule Kick, which is a limited edition that we don't do every year, it's really about a blend that is really now a wrapper that maybe jumps at John, that he really wants to use on that particular blend for 4 Kicks Mule Kick. And that doesn't always happen. So we may have that for 2 or 3 years in a row, and then it may miss a year or two. And that really comes down to a blend that John really feels is worthy of the Mule Kick name. There you go, right there. Ernie does that for us every year. And then when it comes to regular production stuff, I mean, we've only discontinued one line, Las Mareas, in our 11 years. That's the only line we've ever discontinued. Other lines during COVID, we had to put on hiatus because of the limited amount of rollers that a particular partner would have. So let's say like Ernie's factory in Dominican Republic, you know, he got 2 number 1s and number 2, then COVID. So it was a lot of strain on that factory. And so as partners, or not business partners, but as in, you know, partners in what we do with Ernie, and Ernie looking out for us and our best interests. And we obviously want to partake and help alleviate some of that stress off the factory. So, you know, brands like Headley Grange or JD Howard or Four Kicks Maduro are on hiatus because of the amount of tobacco or the amount of rollers or production that we can get out of a factory, right?
Yeah.
And then with a brand like Le Carême was off the market for a year and a half, strictly because we couldn't get the broadleaf that we wanted. And so the broadleaf, you know, and I always tell this because it to me as a salesman, it sucks when you take a brand like that off, right? Because people enjoy it, they want it, you can sell it, and that's what my job and my role is at Crown Heads. But when I see John and Mike, you know, people approach them or say, hey, listen, you could get, you know, a leaf from Pennsylvania, it's broadleaf, or hey, we're going broadleaf from Nicaragua, you can use it on Le Carême. And us saying, you know what, no, we would rather take that cigar off the market, wait until the correct wrapper is ready, and instead of faking the funk and putting out something with a different wrapper on it and hoping people don't notice, right?
Yeah.
And maybe some people wouldn't notice, but I think that goes to to John Huber and Mike Condor's character and what they believe in. And so, although it hurts to take a brand like that off the market, it's one of those things where if you're missing a component, then you do what you got to do and you take it off the market until that component is readily available. And then Las Calaveras is a brand. Look, it is a brand on its own, although it's different in the sense that it's not the same blend. It's a different blend every year, but that's a project that we are committed to, and my father's committed to creating every year for us. And, you know, that one brand sells out in one day, and the production on that cigar is bigger than some people's entire year production on their core lines. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And so, you know, all those things play into factors when you're dealing with a product like leaves, tobacco leaves, and Mother Nature never makes the same thing twice. When you're working with different growers and you're working with different tobacco brokers and different factories, all of these things play into the difficulty of consistency and creating product on a consistent basis. So what I always tell people is, you may not like Budweiser, you may not like Macanudo, but you have to give them credit for being able to make a product consistent always. And that's a very difficult thing to do. And so, and as a company our size, right, a lot of people would consider us a mid-sized kind of cigar company. It's hard to always keep up with that demand, or to not overproduce or use components that aren't part of the original blend. All those things play into it. And I think people that smoke Crown Heads or brands of our nature understand that. And they understand that, hey, this is not a machine. You know, we're not putting in chemical A, chemical B, and it spits out the product. That these are raw materials that have a lot of hand working, a lot of blending, a lot of hands that are involved to make this product consistent. If you smoke a Four Kicks today and you smoked one 11 years ago and it tastes the same, that's not by accident. That is a very difficult thing to do. So that is, in a company our size, is very difficult to do. And I think people who smoke boutique, smoke artisanal, smoke craft, you know, using all the names, people that smoke those kinds of brands, a la Crown Heads, understand that your favorite core brand or whatever, or your favorite LE may not be released every year, because it really comes down to, do you have the product, the raw material? Do you have the ability to create it? Do you have the availability to actually put the product in production and get it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people appreciate that.
Definitely.
So Miguel, you know, you've got a large, you know, Crown Heads has a large fan base here in Minnesota.
Yes, I was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
I know
Raul's comment.
We've talked off the show a few times, but what would it take for a specific state or region to get into the halls of Crown Heads to get that? You know, I don't think we could do Purple Rain or whatever, but
Well,
let's say,
but what makes them decide?
Yeah,
John and
yeah.
I'm going to give you a quick little rundown on how the state blends came about. John obviously wanted to create something for Tennessee because Tennessee has always been there through the CAO years and through the Crown Heads years. So we wanted to create something for the cigar smokers of Tennessee as a thank you for always supporting guys like John, guys like Mike, guys like Tim. And so that was just something that naturally came about. Texas is, for whatever reason, in the early years of Crown Heads, was one of the biggest supporters. The retailers in that state just stepped up big time, showed a lot of support. In fact, when our second major hire for an in-house rep, our first was Wes Thornton, who handled Tennessee and the Bible Belt and all that. And then Brian McGee, we had to put someone in Texas because the market there was so strong for Crown Heads. And so it was kind of a thank you to Texas for always being there and having Crown Heads back and always supporting everything we did. And then when it came to Buckeye Land, a lot of us have a connection to Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. Tim Osgood, not Tim, Mike Conder spent many years in Cincinnati as well. He's originally from Louisville. John Huber's wife, she's from Columbus, Ohio. Her last name is Land. That's where Buckeye Land comes from. That's her maiden name. And then our CFO, Adam Shepard, who was our CFO at CAO and our CFO at Crown Heads, he went to Miami University in Ohio. And
Nice.
So a lot of us had a connection to Ohio. So we wanted to create something for Ohio. And there was all this kind of, all the stars were aligning to do something for the great state of Ohio. And then with Hawaii is interesting because Hawaii is a different blend every year, but it's for one account out there. So it's really not a state exclusive. It's really an account exclusive. And so we do that for Marvin out there in Hawaii. It's called Paniolo. And John just was out in Hawaii launching the newest Paniolo. And it's so much of that ends up back in the lower 48. We ship it all out there. And it's amazing how much of it comes back via orders to the mainland. But that's kind of where it came about. I think John's an artist. And I think a guy like John doesn't necessarily, look, if you wanted to, you create something from New York and California, right? Those are big states, big cigar smoking populations. You'd sell a lot of cigars. It's not about that for John. For John, it's got to speak to him. It's got to make sense, and it needs to come organically to him. And that's another thing that I really love about working with John is it's never about, I'm going to do this because it produces this amount of money, or I know I can count on it. It's, I'm going to create it. We just announced, and we're taking pre-orders for a Lancero that we're doing. Dude, Lanceros, as you guys know, we just announced that we're doing a 4 Kicks Capa Especial Lancero. And I can see his face. And it is smoking unbelievably well. Why would we put out a Lancero if it was about selling 1 million cigars? You wouldn't do that for a Lancero. If you're a Lancero smoker, you may have 5 friends that smoke Lanceros, but overall, it's a very small number of this industry. And so a lot of times it needs to speak to him. And when that blend, John's always believed that blend would taste really good in a thinner Lonsdale-esque size. So we did a Lancero with Ernie, and that'll be shipping here probably in the next 2 weeks or so. And so keep your eyes open for the 4 Kicks Capa Especial Lancero, beautiful Sumatra wrapper, 12-count box, but it's in traditional pigtail. And so sometimes it's just about being creative, and that's really where John. So will we do one from Minnesota? I don't know, but if it did, you guys would be the first to know. I got to tell you, I've been to Minnesota several times. I love that state. I love the fans up there are ravenous for their teams. Target Field is one of the best ballparks I've ever been to.
Yep.
There's a lot to love about the state of Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we will.
We'll keep pushing for that.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't the last you've heard of us.
Because when you factor in all the great stuff, whether you're talking about, the color purple, being, Prince and the Vikings and, the whole Minnesota funk scene with Prince and Morris Day and the Time. And
then you've got like the underground music scene of, Atmosphere and
Curb Feelers.
Yeah. There's
the beauty of your state too is I think that's one of the things that, I travel a lot and I'm in a lot of airports, and your guys' airport is one of my favorite airports to be in. It's so nice, so clean. great restaurants. Like it just there's some airports I dread getting stuck in, and your guys' airport is not one of them.
Atlanta. Atlanta.
You know, it's funny you say that because I've asked several flight crews, and not unanimously, but a high percentage of them say that their favorite airport to go to is MSP.
Yeah.
And that means a lot.
We're very spoiled.
We are
with the airport situation here.
So not to bring back up the issue, you know, but from a sales perspective, and this might be a little dry for some, but from a sales perspective, when you're looking at now at TPE and next spring, and you're looking at sales strategies for your lineup with the brands that are, we'll say, influx, okay, holding pattern situation, how does that change your strategy for your lines and the brands under Crown Heads that you can really get behind?
Well, I think, you know, when you're distributing someone else's cigars, you know, you're trying to give them a lot of love and support too and tell their story. Now, as they are going to go off and do their own thing, that's something that our sales guys aren't going to be involved with anymore, right? So we can focus back on 100% on Crown Heads. And then obviously we have Tim Osgener with his brand as well. So that's a story that we need to tell also. There's a lot of people that have gotten into cigars over the last 10 years who may not even know who Tim Osgener is. They think of CAO. They may think, Ricky Rodriguez. They may not understand where that company came from, right? And so that's a story that needs to be told. So Tim obviously has one core line. So Tim's got a lot of stuff that he's been working on behind the scenes, blends and things that you'll see at TPE. We're going to release some stuff at TPE, which we've never really done before. PCA, we're going to continue to do stuff. There'll be a lot of great limited edition and fun stuff that we do. We love doing limited editions, and retailers love it as well. Retailers always say to us, hey, listen, we love selling your core line. We love your core line stuff, but limited editions bring guys back in the humidors. They bring guys in frequently. What's new? What's happening? And that's something that we've been very strong at doing. So it's so overwhelmingly positive when we get, retailers looking for our limited edition stuff, right? And so for us, it's really it's about focusing back on Crown Heads 100% and really giving Tim the ability to get out there and run and do what he does best, right? We've always had our own booth at the trade show. And so now it'll be Crown Heads and Osgener, and TPE, it'll be Crown Heads and Osgener. And I can tell you that Tim and John, as they always do, are always working on really great core products as well as limited edition products and a lot of cool, unique things that are coming down the line. So I think you'll see a lot of that over, after we get past Christmas. I think you'll see a lot of great, exciting things. I do think we have another exciting project that we'll announce before the end of the year that we'll release. That'll be a fun LE that John will get more into very, very soon. But we've got some really cool stuff coming down the line. As far as Mil Diaz, Juarez, and CHC, I will tell you, I'm not worried about those brands. Those brands are strong brands. Retailers love those brands. They know that they're going to get them from us one way or another. And they will always expect for us, we'll never put out a cigar, as we said with Lake Carême, that we cannot meet the actual blend and really stay true to what it is. So you'll see those cigars. Those cigars aren't going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I hate to always go back to it because, it was a cigar from a couple of years ago, but that CHC, the full court press, still holds a special place in my heart.
Absolutely.
That blend was made by Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and Ernie, that was the 2018, and I think we put up the LE in 19, if I'm not mistaken. And I love that cigar as well. And it's really funny, man. Old Miguel would always keep things and store things in my personal collection. A new Miguel, or older, more mature Miguel, over the last 5-6 years has really decided that it's about smoking them and not collecting them. So people will say to me, I bet you got a badass collection. I said, you should have talked to me 10 years ago. I had a pretty badass collection, but over the last 5 years, I've worked through a lot of that. And one of them was the last couple of boxes I had a full court press. And once they're gone, they're gone. But I do think that's kind of the romance of cigars. I mean, I love talking to somebody who said, oh, I remember falling in love with the Punch Rothschild back in the late 80s. And or, hey, the Cubans of the early 90s, they were so amazing. Or those are kind of memories that get burnt into the mind, pun intended, burnt into the mind of a cigar smoker, that I think is a little bit of the romance of what our industry is. And I love it. I think it's just part of it. And it's like a good bourbon that maybe is 20 or 30 years old that you'll never get your hands on again. And you say, you know what, it's meant for enjoying. And you smoke them, you enjoy them, and you have those memories. And like you bring that up. And to me, I love that. I mean, if someone says to me, oh man, you know, that first mule kick you did, or hey, Las Calaveras 2014, you know, is a popular one. If it meant that much in the minds of a cigar smoker, that means that we did something right. And I think that I think that's special, man.
Oh yeah. Well, and for me, I mean, as much as I loved Las Calaveras 2014, the original blend, I loved it. I thought it was a great blend. But for me, even though maybe from a pure cigar blend perspective, I didn't like the blend as much. I still think it's a very good blend. But the 2016 for me is more meaningful, only because that's the year that I lost my mom. So that it's a year thing for me. It's that calendar year 2016, you know, and that blends from 2016. It means more to me because of my mom necessarily than that's the blend that I thought was the best out of all the years of Las Calaveras. So that piece, I think, plays an important factor.
Absolutely, it does. What was the purple one? What year was the purple one?
What year was purple? I don't recall.
20, I think. Yellow. Yeah, 20, because 21 was yellow and 22 was
20 was my lights out.
Well, it's because it was purple.
No. It actually is not. That's funny.
Well, my uncle's initials are on that band. GP, Gino Perchez.
Oh,
nice. My uncle's initials are on that band, and that blend meant a lot to me too, because I sent it to everyone in my family. So that I'm with you. That blend I really loved. I really enjoyed. It had a meatiness to it that I really enjoyed. It didn't blow my head off, but it had a meatiness that you usually get from a super full-bodied cigar, but it wasn't super full-bodied. And that blend really spoke to me, and I'm very glad that my uncle's initials ended up on that blend.
Awesome.
And the fun thing is, like, you know, John, it's like every year, what colors are you going to choose? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the fun thing with Las Cal. But, you know, Las Cal, I think when John released it, obviously was inspired by Dia de los Muertos. And that's a holiday that my family and I celebrate every November, November 1st and 2nd of every year. And a lot of people equate it to Halloween, and it's not. It's a very different holiday. And it's about the celebrating and remembering the people that have passed, right? And that's what Las Cal is. And when you meet people like you who tell that story, me with my uncle, you with your mother, the truth is that is what that cigar is supposed to embody. And so when someone makes that connection, it goes beyond a rolled leaf, dead leaves of tobacco. It's beyond cigar. It's beyond the culture. It's meaningful. And you know, Quentin Thornation here said it's about that time, or I don't know what that is, but that word, that word time, it's really reminds you memento mori, that, you know, you remember that your time on this planet is limited, and make sure you try to enjoy as many of the days that we have left on this earth. And for us, we celebrate it with cigars. And I think that's what Las Calaveras has grown beyond anything we could have ever wanted it to be. It's become something part of the lexicon of cigar industry. And I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, the reason Quentin is saying it's about that time is because, and we got to thank Miguel for just teeing it up. I mean, your segue game is on point, because it is now time for this week's Numero de los Muertos. And as always, Numero de los Muertos is brought to us by our friends at Smoke Inn. Numero de los Muertos, episode 175. Garrett, what do you have for us this week?
This one's going to be fun.
Oh, you say that.
I say that every week.
I'm scared.
No. All right. So, all right, here it is. And just no, Quentin, no. Okay. First of all, now this comes from the United States. We've got 4,000 people who die every year in this place.
In the United States, every year we have 4,000 people who die from this or in this place.
Yes.
We're getting a little echo, but
Yeah, we got an echo.
I'm going to deal with it.
When do we start guessing?
Right now.
Right now.
Work it.
In the shower.
No, sir.
Is it a geographical place?
Not a specific geographical place. So his answer of shower is more indicative of.
Okay. Right on.
Like bathroom, toilet, or something like that.
Yes. Not Yellowstone. I like that guess.
Don't put that on screen. Don't put that on screen.
Not the subway.
Is it in the garage?
It is not the garage.
I'd like to thank our friend the Cricket for joining us tonight, by the way, in the studio. There's this Cricket who's just been...
Jiminy, how you book the celebrities? Jiminy Cricket, all the way from Disney.
I know.
In Minnesota, live studio audience, incredible.
It's just, yeah. Well, that's the kind of budget we have here at How About That Cigar? I mean, it's unlimited.
Kitchen is a great guess. That is not correct. Not in the bedroom.
Indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
Indoors.
Not the ocean. Not the attic. Not an aeroplane.
In the home or the workplace?
Neither.
Neither.
Mm-hmm.
Porta potty.
Oh, very good guess.
That is a great guess.
Well, there's a lot of construction going on, so
Oh yeah.
Yep.
During the Hurricane Ian, there were a bunch of porta potties flying all over the place. So
you didn't get any blue showers down on your.
Thank God I saw no blue water.
Wow. Not the bar. Not
lighting a fire pole.
I did the fire pole perfectly.
Yeah, he did. He was like you were like a schoolboy.
So Raul, our brother, is a firefighter in Minneapolis, and went and did a little tour of his fire station.
Yeah,
and got to slide down the fire pole. I was like a 12-year-old kid, man. It was awesome.
We couldn't get him up. He was trying to fucking get some money.
Yeah, I know. I could see that. I could see him dancing on it and going, "Hey, that's not the place here."
Yeah, he made it weird.
Well, let me ask you this though, before we get back to your question. When you were sliding down that pole, were you thinking of every kid's kind of, I would like to be a fireman when I grow up, or two, were you thinking Ghostbusters? We got a live one here, boys.
So I love that. I love that.
Yes,
I love that. And it was probably a combination of the two because, I was one of those kids. Firefighter wasn't ever one of my, dream occupations, but it was always something I respected. I always loved the fire trucks when they would come to the school and do all that, and love that. But no, it's interesting you say that because I thought about that after the fact, and Matt took a video of it.
I did. It's hilarious.
Thought about the Ghostbusters too. That's really funny. I love it.
4,000 people.
Holy shit. We have a correct guess. It is not the phone booth.
Is it malls?
It's not the gym.
Is it motels?
It's not the mall.
Dentist?
Nope. Go above mall.
In jail?
4,000 inmates die every year on average.
Seriously?
In jail. Yep.
Holy cow.
Most of those I should say just over half is just old age, and the other half is your run-of-the-mill sicknesses and cancers and everything else.
No.
Here's a question. Are they including people on death row in that number?
That is not. No,
These are natural deaths.
correct. Natural deaths, not death row deaths.
Yeah.
Yep. And prison murders were actually a smaller percentage than. Yeah.
Wow.
That one, I've always enjoyed this part of the show, and I've always kind of prided myself on getting close. This is my worst performance.
Same here.
guessing.
I was completely off base. I didn't even know where this was going. No idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Good one.
yeah. Good. Q. I'm proud of you. I am proud of you for getting outside of your sick head and giving some real.
Yeah, not giving the disgusting usual like interview with the predator
Yeah.
answers
Yeah.
he usually gives. Like Chris Hansen, come in, have a seat.
Yeah.
I thought this 12-year-old just needed a friend. I mean, good Lord. That may have been one of the best shows ever on TV. I mean, sir, why do you have straps and a tranquilizer in the car? I don't know.
That's weird. How'd they get there?
Yeah, and a medium-sized pizza.
Whew.
What a great show.
Oh,
Let me tell you guys, it's a good joke. I think it's a funny joke, but like if you're ever somewhere and someone says, you look familiar, you can always say, To Catch Predator, season 2, episode 5. That was me. She looked 21, you know. That really screws with people.
I love it.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, that would be so good.
I was in a really bad place.
My dog just died.
Oh. Well, 9 times out of 10, if we're at some cigar event or something and people ask about the podcast, they're like, how'd you and Garrett meet? I just to be a jerk right off the bat, I'm like, prison.
Yeah.
We met in prison. We didn't actually meet in prison, but
Best cellmate ever.
Yeah.
Best cellmate ever.
Ellie.
Never crossed the line, protected me from the gangs. He was just the best cellmate. And we decided, you know what? Let's have a cigar talk.
Yeah. It's really gentle.
Yeah. Really gentle.
A cuddler he is.
No. Well, Miguel, you are a cuddler. Like you are
Whoa.
No. Seriously. Dude, look at have you ever hugged Miguel?
Well, yeah.
Right? I mean, his hugs, and you can only imagine what that cuddle game is. And it's gotta be.
I ranked number 1 on my cell block for 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
I did. 5 years in a row. I was the cuddle champion. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't like to brag about it, but
right.
I put my pants on one leg at a time like everybody else.
And you take them off one leg. No.
When I do it, I make gold records.
I make hit records.
You'll be wearing gold-plated diapers by the time I'm done with you.
What does that even mean? All right. Before this goes way off the rails.
Yeah.
That was this week. Numero
de los Muertos.
I can't even keep it together right now. I can't even keep it together. Whew. Oh, I gotta talk. Okay. Oh boy. All right. Let's do this.
We can do it.
Let's do a lightning round. Lightning round brought to us by our friends at JC Newman Cigar Company. JC Newman is America's oldest family-owned premium cigar maker, creators of the popular Brick House, Perla Del Mar, Diamond Crown, and the American. JC Newman Cigar Company operates out of their 112-year-old El Reloj Cigar Factory in historic Cigar City, Tampa, Florida. For more information on their cigars or their visitor experience, please visit jcnewman.com.
You're being so selfish, Gene.
I gotta keep it together. All right. So, Miguel, you've been on the show a bunch, so you've had quite a few of these lightning round questions. So we're going to hit you with some newer ones that I don't think you've had before.
Yeah.
So if you were suddenly overnight a billionaire,
Mhm.
what would be the first unnecessary thing that you would spend some money on?
Here's one question. When you say a billionaire, does that mean just a billion or I have several billions?
Let's go big. Let's say 50 billion.
Okay, the first thing I do is I go out and I buy the Cincinnati Reds. All right, that's about $1 billion right there. So if I had a billion, I couldn't buy the Reds because they're about $1 billion, right? But I would buy the Cincinnati Reds.
I love it.
And I would dedicate the rest of my life, besides being a good husband and being a good father, but I would dedicate the rest of my life to bringing another kind of big red machine back to Cincinnati. I would be the Steinbrenner of Cincinnati. That's
Yes.
what I would do.
Yes.
That's what I would do. And I would have, I would do everything. I would be worse than the Yankees and Dodgers. I'd be buying every player. They would probably kick me out of Major League Baseball because I would literally buy everybody and have them on my team.
Love it.
I tell people all the time, I've been in this business 20 years. And the only way I think I'll leave this business is if the Reds reach out to me on a lamb and just say, hey, do you want to be our GM? Then I would go and be their GM. But that would be the first thing. I dream about it. I think about it. I drool over the opportunity of one day running into billions of dollars. That's what I would do. I would buy the Cincinnati Reds.
Who would be your if this happened today? Who would be the GM that you would go after?
To be quite honest with you, I wouldn't go after a big name GM. I would go to like Harvard or Yale and find some crazy nerdy statistician kid who
Moneyball
and pluck them out of college and put them in place. And I would just create from scratch, just a bunch of brilliant minds smarter than me. And that's where I would go. That's what I would do.
How about them apples?
How about them apples? A lot of movie references.
A lot
tonight.
of movie references tonight. I
like it. I like it. And but I think that's what I would do. And I would I would hire Joey Votto as my manager. After he retired, I would give him my manager position, and then that would be what I would do. And that would be my dream of a dream. That's what I would do. And then with my other billions of dollars, I'd buy a baseball team in every country that I could. So Mexico, Dominican, Venezuela, Cuba, maybe one day, Puerto Rico. That's what I would do.
I love it.
And my whole life would be baseball because that's my passion in life. Yeah. Smoking cigars, listening to baseball games. Nothing in this world can make me happier.
I can't wait to go to a baseball game with you.
Oh, I know.
I bet that's just an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cigars and baseball next year.
Yeah. Cigars and we're going to talk. We got to get you. We got to get you to cigars and baseball, bro.
Hey, let me know. I'm down. Going to a game with me. I don't know how much fun that is. My wife would tell you that it isn't a lot of fun because I'm like, shh, I'm watching the game. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm watching the game. And that's my kids aren't necessarily into sports, and people go, oh man, you love baseball, your kids must love baseball. And I go, you know what, I actually kind of backfired on me because when I would take them to games when I was a kid, I'd be like, don't talk to me. Although my mom, when I was little, she would teach me the game, and I was so focused on so don't make the mistakes that I made. Yeah. I was so wrapped up in the games I forgot my kids were there.
Next question, Miguel. You're at a cigar bar with friends, and it's karaoke night, and you are forced to get up and sing a song. Yeah. What is the song that you pick?
Well, I don't. It may be hard to believe, but I do not have a great singing voice. That's very tough for me to admit here on live. I do not have a beautiful singing voice, so it would have to be something, maybe some Rammstein, Du hast nichts, maybe. Give it a little German. I got a German last name. That way nobody would really know if I was doing a good job or not. And then you can always fall back on tequila because it's one word. But Rammstein would probably be my thing.
I like it.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, Miguel.
Mm-hmm.
The zombies are coming. Okay.
Yep.
You get 3 industry draft picks to be on your zombie apocalypse survival team. Who are the 3 industry people you choose and why?
Good Lord. I'm going to pick Willie Herrera as one of them because he's a big son of a gun. And I feel like Willie could really, I don't know. He looks like he could fight, right? He looks like a tough son of a gun.
I think he could throw down.
And then I would probably also pick Jack Tarano. So I'd get the 2 biggest Cubans ever born, Jack Tarano and Willie Herrera. Those would be my front line. Those 2 guys, they're big. Jack maybe not run very fast, but he's a strong guy. I feel like Jack would be very. And then Skip Martin's a smart guy. He worked for I think Dell, so maybe he would be the kind of the brains of the operation, if you will.
And he has a lot of guns.
A lot of guns. And then I would probably.
That's your 3.
Oh, that's my 3. There you go.
Can get a bonus. You can get a bonus.
Who would your bonus be?
My bonus, I would have to pick someone.
A sacrificial lamb. You can say it.
Yes, a sacrificial lamb. So probably going to grab our friend William Cooper. I love Coop. Listen, Coop, I love you, but I don't see you got to have a sacrificial lamb. Coop, I love you, brother. But you would be the one that you would be the bait, basically. He would be the bait.
Oh, why you gotta do Coop like that, man? Oh,
I love Coop, but you got to have at least one sacrificial lamb.
Oh, you do.
You do. You know, it's
Yep.
Oh man, that hurts.
Yeah.
But you're not really wrong either. I mean, the joke is you don't have to outrun the zombie. You just have to outrun the guy you're with.
Exactly. The slowest guy on your team. That's, why are my shoelaces tied together?
Well, that's something I saw online. It's if you want to avoid the zombie apocalypse from now on, every mortician needs to tie together the shoelaces of the people before they put them.
A lot of them are. A lot of them are.
Are you serious? They actually do that?
Yes, they actually do.
That's
unreal. You just ruined next week's Numero de los Muertos. Okay, that was the topic.
Sorry, Garrett.
So many cadavers a year get their shoes tied together.
Oh man!
But I love this. You guys, I'm telling you, I love this show. You guys have the best show because we can talk cigars and then we can have fun, man. I love that.
Yes.
Well, let's jump into notable smokables for episode 175. Notable smokables on the show, always brought to us by Luciano Cigars. Notable cigars, notable passion, notable purpose. So Miguel, each week we name a cigar we smoked recently that was notable to us. Obviously, you're mostly smoking Crown's Head stuff, but we know every once in a while you would get a chance to jump outside of the portfolio. So is there anything you smoked recently that was notable to you, whether it's new or old?
Well, I've been on the show a few times, and I have no problem naming other companies that I love. Illusione, Tatuaje, Espinosa, brands I really, truly love. But one that I smoked recently was when I was with Tarano Cigars. I did a stint with Tarano when it was family owned still, and I got to be involved in creating a cigar called Salutum. And I smoked all my Salutums. I smoked them all. They were out of my collection. And recently I joined my buddy Jack Tarano for we brought our families together to go to a game in Miami. We watched the Reds and the Marlins play a month or two ago, and he brought me a full box of Salutum. And so I have been smoking that cigar and enjoying that cigar, and recently smoked one with my broker Miguel Montañez out in New York. And it was just kind of neat to be able to smoke something that I hadn't smoked in years, that I had a connection to, that I was a part of. Obviously the cigar doesn't exist anymore. And as I joke with everybody, if it was a record, it would have gone copper. That's how popular it was. I think my mom bought a box. My dad bought a box. Really hot shit, hot brand. But it was really cool. And I have a box of them to smoke and work through. And it was kind of neat. So that was a notable cigar. And like I said, I have no problem naming other brands. I love a lot of other brands, but that was a cigar recently, like within the last 2 weeks that I smoked. Quentin said he had bought a box. Thank you, brother. You were the third guy, I think, who bought a box. Yeah. And it was cool. That was a cool experience.
Awesome. Mine this week was a Black Label Trading Company cigar, limited run, Intergalactic.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I haven't got my hands on that one yet.
Blew me away. So I wish I would have had it sooner, but I'm hearing they're just hitting now. And when they were released originally, they maybe weren't as amazing as they are now. But I can tell you the one I had was fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, I like that blend. My notable this week was another one from when we stopped in Chicago a couple weekends ago at
Norwood Royal.
Norwood Royal. I always forget that. They had those LG Lido Gomez 2015s. And yikes.
Yeah.
So I smoked it. I went just this past weekend. I just got back yesterday. Went fishing fishing and camping way up in northern Minnesota. And it was actually my morning cigar. So one morning, got up, climbed out of the tent, and made some breakfast, sitting around the campfire, morning campfire. Fired up that Lido Gomez 2015 with some coffee after camping breakfast, and it was just right by the water. We're camping on this little island in the middle of this big lake up in northern Minnesota. Not another soul in sight, and me and the guys are just sitting around this campfire and just enjoyed that cigar. And the cigar was fantastic, but the experience definitely added to it. But very good.
I've never camped before, but that sounds really incredible.
Never
camped. Okay, we got to fix that, bro. We got to get you up here, and because there's so many. I mean, most of northern Minnesota is just gorgeous wilderness, filled with lakes and rivers and streams, and it's just glorious.
Yeah,
we got to get you up there, bro.
We'll leave Raul at home with his banjo, so you're not in danger.
Another movie reference.
Yes, thank you.
You sure got a pretty mouth. Gary.
You sure got a pretty mouth.
Well, it's funny. I'm really into true crime, and so I love true crime podcasts. Crime Junkie, and that's how so many of these stories. They went camping. They brought a friend who had never camped before, and he was never seen again. So it scares me a little bit.
Way to go out.
Yeah, then I can ask Crime Junkie to cover me on one of their shows.
Yeah.
Oh,
I will advocate on your behalf that they do that show. Yeah.
Well, if I camp with you two, all I'm saying is look at these guys.
Yeah.
Look at those guys. If I don't come back, that's
if you're looking for suspects. There's pretty much it's pretty much him, really. Well, and maybe him.
Yeah. The guy with the banjo, the Puerto Rican with the banjo. What the hell's a Puerto Rican doing with a banjo in the first
Puerto
place?
Ricans go
That's suspicious.
Oh man. So that was this week's notable smokable, brought to you by Luciano Cigars, improving lives through fine cigars. Visit lucianocigars.com to learn more. So we have some coming attractions to let you guys know about. And those are brought to us by our friends at AJ Fernandez. They now produce unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of cigars provides blend, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Latano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. Now, next week, on October 10th. We're going to have a really good time. We'll be on the road in Maple Grove, Minnesota at Tobacco Grove with Jeff Hogan and the crew from Crux Cigars. And we're going to invite some other folks from some local Minnesota cigar groups to come join us. We're going to basically just have a herf. We're going to hang out and herf and talk to Jeff about Crux and have a grand time there at Tobacco Grove, which is just a really cool shop in Minnesota.
Great cigar shop in Minnesota. Great people. Crux is a great brand. Casey and all those guys, wonderful people over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we haven't been there since the last time we interviewed Jeff at Tobacco Grove was literally like 2 days before the government shut everything down in March of 2020.
Exactly.
Wow.
I mean, it was like right before everything got closed.
Well,
So,
what could happen this time? A zombie apocalypse breaks out after 2 days after you guys do this one. You never know.
you never know.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared. I'm like, what's going to happen?
Raul, we're gonna need your banjo.
Yeah.
We need the banjo.
Bring the banjo and the guns, bro.
Yeah.
So that's what we have coming up on the show next week. So Miguel, before we close out, give our viewers and listeners the best idea for them to find out everything, all the latest and greatest from Crown Heads.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Love doing this show. Appreciate all the hard work you guys put in doing this show. All your advertisers, everything you guys do is fantastic. I would definitely say that if you want to learn more about Crown Heads, the best place to do it is Instagram, The Crown Heads on Instagram. John Huber, the face, the creator behind Crown Heads, he runs an Instagram account. You can talk to him directly, see his posts, see all the unique and new things that we're doing as far as cigars, hats and swag. And don't forget to check out Oz Family Cigars on Instagram as well. Those are great places to learn about the brands. And then catch us on the road. Check out our website. Check out our road shows. Come to an event and meet one of our great sales representatives and one of our good guys out there on the road pounding the concrete and bringing our cigars to each and every one of you.
And, as a reminder, those events are the only place you can get this blood medicine blend that we all had here.
And it's, I mean, I smoked it down. I smoked it down to this.
Yep.
Nice.
So it's a very, very delicious blend. I really enjoyed it.
And we don't turn our show into a commercial, and we don't advocate for a cigar that we wouldn't honestly say go and get, but really try and find one of those events, get a pack of the blood medicine.
Right on.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Well, hang out with us for just a minute in the green room so we can say a proper goodbye.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And man, episode 175, it's time flies, man.
Wow.
It's just crazy. Miguel, thank you again, brother, for being on episode 175. We appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
All right. For all our viewers and listeners, guys, thank you so much for watching live on Facebook and live on YouTube. You guys are the best part of How About That Cigar Live. We thank you so much for all of it. If you're listening after the fact on the audio podcast, thanks again for doing that. Any of those platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or your favorite audio podcast platform, make sure to subscribe to all of it so you don't miss any of the new stuff we have coming out.
AOL,
whatever. MySpace, Friendster, the Yellow Pages.
Yep.
Yeah. So make sure to follow us on all of those. If you guys have questions, you can email us on the website, howaboutthatcigar.com. Follow us on all social media at HBT Cigar. And of course, until we see you guys next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.